Streaming. I'm live. Hello? Am I officially live? Let me check my channel. Hopefully everything looks good. I think it's good. Looks like it's working. See if people get in here. Channel. I'm live. Let's go. Yeah. Gonna be talking the interior offensive lineman today. Did last stream we talked about the tackles. Gonna go into the interior group. Talk about guys that played some tackle, but they're more than likely gonna be guards at the next level. A lot of players I like in this class. Some that I really like for the Dolphins, some not so much, but there's a few that I'm like really keen on. I don't know if they go one in the first round because I don't think the guys that I like in the first round will be there anymore, but I could see in the second for sure. And then we'll see how that draft ends up playing out because there's gonna be a lot of different things happening. Anyone in here? Yeah, what's up, guys? Once people start flowing in, definitely start going through my notes, talking about everyone. My channel. Okay, we're here. 3 watching, cool. That's all I need. And I'll talk about some other stuff too, just like maybe talk about some of the 30 visits. They brought in Rasheen Ali, who I'm a big fan of. I made a video on him not too long ago. He'd be like a perfect scheme fit for a running back that you're getting on day 3 somewhere, which would be awesome. What's up, Scotty? Talk about some other stuff. Oh, we can talk about Tart as well. Bring in defensive tackle and how that could potentially change the draft strategy. I don't know. I don't think it changes too much, but it does, open up options, which I like. I think they're really setting it up to where at 21, they can just go best player available. They're not going to pigeonhole themselves into being like, oh, we have to take an offensive lineman, or we have to take a defensive lineman. Obviously, those are still high on the priority list, but if the guys they really like aren't there, they can go in other directions, which I'm always a big fan of that. Because I do think like some of the guys I really like could potentially be gone. Like I think Fatanu's going to be gone. I think Barden, I'm kind of like 50-50 right now on whether he'll be gone or not, but if he is there, I think he's in play. And I don't think any other like the interior O-line are worth it in the first round. And then 55, there's a few guys I like. Some I really like. Some I'm like, I would take at 55, but they're more like late second rounders to me, maybe early third rounders. Oh, but yeah. And okay, nice. Start off with Fatanu, obviously, Troy Fatanu, Washington. Played left tackle. I do think I put him in the interior group, and he's my number 1 guy in the interior group because I do think he's one of the guys that is in the interior that can still play on the outside, still play tackle, and be fine and still be good at the next level. But I also think like if he goes to the interior, he'll be like an elite guard. So that's why I kind of put him in the interior group. But that can definitely play tackle if needed. A really good athlete, like his mirroring ability, his recovery. I love guys that really can recover, great balance, and I just feel like that's where he stands out with his athleticism compared to other people. He's willing to for being, that really athletic guy, he's also gets active and physical in the running game, which is great. And then, he plays with good angles and leverage. So I like a smart player, guy that's athletic. That's Fatanu. He can be a bit over aggressive at times, I think, which could be a negative to his games when it comes to his hands. But yeah, I think, becoming, a little more patient at times when needed. I do like aggressiveness. So if that's a weakness of yours, is you can be a little over aggressive, I'll definitely take that. If, the other traits that Fatanu has. And to me, I think I have Fatanu as a top 10 player in this draft class. And I think he should go top 10. I don't know if he will. We'll see how it plays out because this draft class is really, really good. And I could see plenty of people going in the top 10. But yeah, Fatanu, top 10 guy for me. Second for me is Graham Barden. Another guy that played pretty much every position on his offensive line. But to me, I think, he's a guard center type at the next level. Has that elite positional versatility. Yeah, I think, some people are worried about his length because I think on film his arm length doesn't look as insane, Fatanu's. But then he measured and his arm length was fine. I think, that's usually the problem. I just think, he can definitely play tackle, but I just feel like guard is perfect for his skill set. So that's why I think maybe they're saying that. But I think he's one of the guys that can play both and have a really long career. So look forward to that. I think Barton is one of the guys that's more of a interior guy, just based on his skill set. And with how Barton tested, I don't think Barton. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Barton's more of an interior, and I think he has that elite positional versatility. He has experience playing all of those spots. But yeah, interior guy, strong anchor. He tested really, really well, which is why I think they've seen that athleticism. It shows up on the tape, but then with how he tested, I think there's a decent chance he's not even there at 21 anymore. Physical in the running game, he's a finisher. Love how he plays with leverage as well. Similar Fotanu in that sense. They have some physicality in the running game. I think Barton can overset at times, which hurt him at tackle. That's why another reason I think he will be better on the interior. There's less room for that. And then his hand placement, I think specifically the outside hand when he needs to win to the outside, can be a little inconsistent at times. And when you're looking at, but that's another way that he'll be protected in the interior, where those weaknesses to his game, I think, just become less obvious when he plays as a guard. And then we got, bro, I never seen what you looked like. Yeah, I know. I've been getting a lot of those comments since I've started streaming. Hey, appreciate you guys. Your analysis of Viz was great. Well, I'm about to get to Haynes right after this play. I'm going to talk about Jackson Powers Johnson, and then I'm going to talk about Haynes for a little bit. Obviously, go watch that video if you haven't seen it. Christian Haynes posted that. He's probably my favorite fit in the second round. If he's there in the second round, he's definitely my favorite second round guard. Really like him. I think, Fotanu and Barton are like in the tier 1 for the interior players for me. And I think in tier 2, I have Haynes and then probably Jordan Morgan, who I talked about in last week's video, who can play some tackle as well. He played tackle in college, but I think he can also slide in and be a good guard. Those are kind of like my tier 2 guys at the guard position. And then we're going to talk about some centers too. We'll just talk about the whole interior. Mostly guards, but a few centers that I want to talk about. Hope Dolphins can get Fotanu in the first round and Christian Haynes in the second round, and then trade the comp picks and trade into the third round and get Chris Jenkins in the third round. I mean, that would be pretty crazy if that happened. I mean, that would definitely really fill the needs, while also, I think, being good values. I mean, probably unlikely, especially the trading part. Probably the most likely thing, I would say Haynes in the second round. The dream would be Fotanu in the first round, but I just don't see it happening. Could happen though. Definitely, I've seen crazier things happen on draft day. I'm just reading in between the lines, seeing like the visits, the reports. It just looks like Fotanu will make it. And based on his film, I don't think he should be available at 21. Yeah, I'm hoping for one alignment. I don't think they need to double dip. I would be mad though if they did, especially if they went like maybe a tackle that could play guard and then a guard. I would be mad. But yeah, I think they should end up with one, because this O-line class is really good. Also wouldn't be mad if they went receiver, because the receiver class is really good. But yeah, we'll talk about Jackson Powers Johnson. I actually think Jackson Powers Johnson and Zach Frazier are very even for me right now as the top centers. I think very confident in both of their skill sets. I think they're both like early second round players. Probably wouldn't take either of them in the first. Don't think either will probably be Dolphins, because I think they both go in between 21 and 55, just based on where we're picking in the draft. I guess maybe in a trade pack scenario. And I guess I think Powers Johnson could play guard and be pretty successful, but probably not the direction I see them going. But yeah, very physical player, great mover, overall quality athleticism. He uses good hands. He torques people. He throws them out the club. Just competitive, works well in space, has some really fun plays out in space. I think the biggest problem with JPJ right now is his injury history, which has dropped him down. He felt like a first round lock for a while. Now it seems like he's probably not going to go in the first round anymore, which is interesting. The injury history is a weakness. Doesn't have great length, which, why he's going to be obviously an interior guy. And then can struggle. I've seen him when he usually uses in pass protection, he usually struggles with more quicker interior guys. So I think, and that could be more of like a technical issue at times, pad level thing, and that's something. Yeah, Latham and Leggett would be a really good draft, but another one I don't see happening. I started to think like the top 5 tackles with Alt, Fuanga, Mims, Latham, and Fashanu, the top 5 guys, and plus Troy Fotanu. I like considering him either a tackle or a guard, whatever you want. I think all of those guys aren't going to make it to 21. Maybe one does, but I just really feel like 3 of those guys will probably go in the top 10. and I've just started to feel less and less about the O-line being there. I feel like one of the D tackles will be there. I think some of the edges will be there. Definitely the receivers after the top three. Maybe not one of, maybe Brian Thomas Jr. might, but it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. I just feel like the O-line thing might not work out in the first round just by looking around, seeing what teams need. That's kind of where I think they could end up going O-line in the second round, which is where we're going to start talking about Christian Haynes. I have an early second on Christian Haynes, so if they got him at 55, absolutely amazing pick. I hope they go. Christian Haynes is one of my favorite picks at 55 right now if it happens. That I think is realistically could happen. I do think, though, I did want to talk about like one thing I've noticed in drafts just from watching is a lot of guards end up going like in that early day 2 range because those teams all picked in the top 10, top 15, and none of them usually don't. A lot of guards don't go top 10, top 15. So they all took another position, a premier position, and then guards a pretty weak position in the NFL. So they all see, a lot of teams see it as a need, and then they end up targeting a guard early on day 2. That's why I think Haynes might not be there at 55, but I really enjoy him. Amazing athlete, probably the best fit at guard that you're going to find for the Dolphins system. His explosiveness, his ability to reach block, cut people off from the backside. Like he's just undersized, really. That's all, usually what people say about his game. He's pretty undersized, but he plays strong. He has a good anchor. The things that would get him into trouble, he makes up for. Has pretty good length for his size too, which is another area. Usually if you're a lack of size, you don't have the greatest length, but his length for his size is pretty good. So it's like not many weaknesses to his game. The cutoffs, good feet to mirror and match. I would say, his hands get a little bit wide. So, working on the consistency with his hands can get him caught off balance, especially in pass protection. But some of his film, especially in the running game, is so impressive to me. And that's why he's one of my favorite players to watch currently. And that's why I made that video on him today. And yeah, Christian Haynes in a second. Let's see. What do you guys say? Think Sweat is going to drop to the third round after the D. I think to me, I was never super big on the Sweat train. I know a lot of people want him at 55. I think, I talked about it last stream. He's like a huge nose tackle, really came in overweight, which I think was a big thing. So like he's not going to play significant snaps. And then the whole DWI thing, and he has a party history. It's like, man, you have to be really stupid for that to happen to you right now, right before the draft. To me, I'm not touching him on round 3. I would maybe take a roll of the dice on day 3 somewhere. If, he falls far enough, which I think is a possibility. I don't think he goes day 2 anymore. I think there's too many question marks, not just the DWI. It's coming in overweight. He's not going to play significant snaps. He's really only a nose tackle. He's a good ass player, but I definitely have my concerns with him. Chris Jenkins from Michigan, yeah. I'll definitely be talking a lot. I think I'm probably going to do the D-line group next, so I'll talk about a lot of them next. And I like this class for D-line is also pretty good. There's a lot of second-round players, like Noon and Murphy are the first-round guys. After that, there's I'm looking at a list of names right now, and I probably see 6 guys I could easily see going in the second round. Yep, too many red flags on Sweat. I'm not taking that risk. Maybe throw some draft capital late in the draft. That's all I would do if I wanted to go in that direction for the Dolphins, but just not worth it. But yeah, so that's to me. I talked about Jordan Morgan last stream. Jordan Morgan and Haynes are kind of in that same tier for me for guards. Morgan is a tackle, but yeah, that's kind of where I'm feeling right now for those players. Then the rest of the guards. We have Mahogany, McCormick, Beebe, and Dominic Pooney from Kansas. And those guys have I've seen them all people, interested for the Dolphins with them at 55. And I don't think any of them would be bad picks at 55, but they're all late seconds to me, early thirds. So I think it would be a slight reach, it's nothing crazy. But I do like all of them. It's just, I don't know if any of them would be the best player on my board personally when they pick at 55, but I would not be mad with any of them. So we'll talk a little bit about these players. Mahogany, also did a video on him a while ago, probably a month. Christian Mahogany, really big fan. Boston College, great versus twist and stunts. Probably one of the best players in this class. Identifying, recognizing the twist and stunt game. Really exciting to watch him in those plays. Probably my favorite player to watch in that sense. Lots of pop in his hands, which is good. Pretty explosive first step, good anchor. Has a pretty nasty play style overall with quality movement skills, which is good. So I think he has a physicality side to his game, but also moves pretty well. which I always like for an offensive lineman that is a good mover that plays with physicality. I do think he struggles with holding on a little bit too much at times and lunging, which he puts himself in a position to recover a little bit too often. So that would be like the negatives to his game. But I do like Mahogany, probably like a late second round, early third type of player to me. Yeah, DUI at noontime 2 weeks before the draft. I mean, it's crazy. Okay, that's just weird. You do draft videos about the same positions on the same day. Is he doing that right now too? I had no idea. That's funny. And then we got Mason McCormick, another interesting player that I have in that mahogany type of range. Really tough player, big time rage, just has a chip on his shoulder, you can tell. Late second, early third for me. Good puller in space, takes good angles, blows people up, absolutely, dominant. He tested pretty well too, so he's a good athlete. A lot of these guys at the guard position are good athletes and also have a nastiness playstyle, and I love that. I love guys that move well and also go out there and they're just not like finesse players. There's some players that you see sometimes and you're like, wow, the athleticism really stands out, and then they're just not as tough as you would like. I do think McCormick is a little bit of a waist bender more than a knee bender, which, can get you into trouble at times. That's why, but those guys always usually end up more on the interior if you're more of a waist bender. That's where you can get away with it more, not having more space to work with. And then I think he can do a better job with his hands and his feet in pass protection, like overall technique. But yeah, I do like his play style overall, and he would be an interesting option. I do think like Mahogany, Haynes, McCormick are good scheme fits. Also Pooney from Kansas, who I like. He's another pretty good scheme fit. I think BB is a good player. Maybe not like, I think he would fit pretty well in Miami as well, but he's probably not as good of an athlete as those other guys. But he is strong as hell, bullies defenders, pad level, base. The athleticism is solid. He moves pretty well on pulls. Not like an elite player, but he's smart. Very smart, has good spatial awareness, very reliable, just gets the job done. So, I mean, always going to be a fan of the players like that. I have another guy, late second, early third, a lot of those players in that range. I guess, potentially they trade back from 55 and probably would still have one of these players on the board at least. I could see some of these players going in the third for sure. Another guy that's kind of hold on. Right there. Yep. Limited length, which, BB has. I think he tests a little bit better than moves on film. And then he's better at moving in space, I would say, than in zone runs. Yeah, he's a mauler. Like when he's like out in space pulling or on like a screen, I feel like that's when he moves really well. I feel like on zone runs, he looks a little more stiff when he's just getting out laterally and getting engaged. So I think he just feels more comfortable in space when he shows off his athleticism. Zach Zinter from Michigan. Interesting player, good player. I don't think he's a great fit for Miami though. I think he's very smart, physical, uses his hands well, good recognition versus twists. I just think he's a limited athlete, not great in space, struggles with more athletic interior defenders. His best athletic trait is definitely his balance. Like he does a good job playing balanced and under control, which balance is a huge trait for me for offensive linemen. I think balance and body control is one of the most important athletic traits. So at least he has that. But I wish he was a little more explosive laterally to fit in like the zone scheme. So I just don't know if I see him as the best scheme fit for Miami. But he is a player that's pretty solid. I mean, but probably more of like a round 4 type of player for me. And then we got Dominic Pooney. Oh, I don't even know if I'm saying that name right. I don't know if I'm saying a lot of their names right. But he is the guy from Kansas. Great versatility. Pretty much played all across Kansas lines. Another guy I really like in the second round. Would definitely be happy with his pick at 55 because he's played all across the board. Played left tackle in 2023. Played guard in 2022. Really good movement skills. So versatility, movement skills, all there. Plays with high effort. Creates movement. Like displaces people in the running game. Has a strong punch, which is nice. Mirror and match and pass protection. Good play strength. I think, usually the problems come with him was more like inconsistent technique. Like his technique's not terrible, but there's times I think his hands could be better. Doing a better of sustaining his block, so better like grip strength. Because he has a good punch and moves people, but I need to see him like once he gets that initial punch, be able to sustain on the inside of these on the defenders. And then angles, waist bender as well, which is, another reason he's definitely more of a guard than a tackle. But yeah, I'm definitely a fan of his game, and he would be an excellent pick, kind of in that same vein as I think like a Haynes or a Jordan Morgan, which would be for Miami. And who do we got next? Okay, any questions? Good afternoon, Fins up. What's up, Franklin? How you doing? Do you take strength of schedule into consideration when you look at guys in the draft class? I think it's definitely something you think about. It's less like strength of schedule and more like just like you just need to see them face top competition at some point in the season. It doesn't need to be like every game is them playing the greatest of the greats, but you want to see them against top competition for sure at some point, especially depending on their position. They're going against other competition, which it's important. I do think you can still find guys from smaller schools that translate to the next level, but it's definitely something to always keep in your mind. Yeah. And sometimes you see the smaller school guys, they end up playing a top school. That film can be really important. They still step up and play well against them. That is something to definitely keep in mind. And who do we got next? Brandon Coleman, TCU. Another guy that played tackle this past season. I think he's more of a guard at the next level. His 2022 film was actually, because his 2023 film when I watched wasn't as impressive, but his 2022 film was pretty good. Definitely will. He's like definitely comfortable. He has the length, and he's good he's a quality athlete. Plays with good power. He's more comfortable in a gap scheme though than a zone scheme, and playing inside will help him hide some of his technical problems. Like his technique overall needs work. He'll be he'll over lunge. Needs better balance, which will lead to him not sustaining blocks, which is definitely troublesome to that part of his game, which showed up a lot more in 2023 when I think because he played next to a pretty good guard in 2022, which I think helped him. And this is but I think going to the inside will be better for his game, and he's kind of a round 4 type player in my opinion. Another one. And now we're going to talk about some centers. Zach Frazier, West Virginia. In my opinion, right up there with Jackson Powers Johnson, pretty equal. And I think they're a little bit different players, so just kind of depending on scheme. But I think Frazier's pretty scheme versatile, playing both like gap, Powers runs. He does a good job, base blocking, cutting off things from the backside, can do some pull action. And then I also think he does a good job in the zone game, taking angles. I think, he's not the most explosive athlete, which I think hurts him a little bit at times, working laterally. But he definitely can get the job done. He understands, things that are going on. Overall good in the running game. He's smart. He's tough. Identify, twist, and stunts. Plays with good natural leverage. Nice anchor. He torques people really well. Understands like how to combine his hips, lower half with the upper half too. And then the good angles that he has that can make up for the athletic ability. Which is, I would say his athletic ability is like average or slightly above average. So it's not bad or anything, but it's just not like top of the top. Plus he's pretty tough. I'm pretty sure he, played through some stuff, which was nice. I think he unfortunately broke something on like his final play, which just sucks for him. But then he got like right back in and was like testing it. So he's definitely tough. Let's see. Ooh, went big. Okay. Cedric Van Pran from Georgia, another center. Solid mover in the running game. One of the most intelligent players I watched in this draft. Like he definitely understands what's going on. I've heard, him talk about things too. He definitely is a student of the game, which is big time for him, which is very, very nice. You can see it on the film too. Just the way he takes angles, understands stuff, IDs, twists and stunts, plays with good leverage and strength, which is big. I think he's got some good first step quickness. He sustains his block, good grip strength on the inside, scheme versatile. Definitely lacks length, doesn't have the greatest length. Can be a little over aggressive and miss his punches. So if he doesn't hit those initial punches, doesn't have those like the physical tools to help him save himself, and he'll lose some balance and over lunge, which can also be he has that can happen in the running game and in pass protection. Another guy that I think is like a round 4-ish player, but you get him on your team and you're feeling pretty good about his toughness and things like that. Yeah, he's probably. I haven't seen a ton of talk about him. I saw some talk about him today, actually, but usually overall I don't. But he is definitely an intriguing center player that I would probably take early day 3 because I think you get him in there, and I think he could be a solid starter NFL center. Doesn't have like the elite physical traits that you look for, but he'll get the job done for you. Okay. What do we got next? Oh, we got Bo Limmer, who was at the Senior Bowl and looked pretty good at the Senior Bowl. Like his fit in Miami, if this is a direction they end up going in, he's kind of in that same range, that round 4 range, which the Dolphins currently don't have that type of pick. But you never know with these things. They could trade back, get a pick in that area. He ends up falling farther than expected. But he's a good overall athlete, has really nice lateral range. I think Limmer can play both center and guard and be absolutely fine. So I think, you're good there. He has experience doing both. Plays with some nastiness too, which I like to see. I like to see him finish. Overall hand timing, has a solid anchor, pretty good football IQ with, recognizing twists and stunts or just taking good angles to the point of attack. Good reactive athleticism to react to things on the fly. And then inconsistent overall technique in pass pro and the running game. I think, he could use some better technique. And then, my God, I have spelling errors, so I can't even read what I'm saying. And then he can lunge and lose balance at times. Just the technique problems with him that I think bring him down. But those are areas that you can improve. Which is more important to you, athleticism or toughness? I mean, it depends on position, but since we're talking about offensive line or interior offensive line, I think both are quite important, especially if you're looking for the Dolphins. Athleticism is huge. You have to be a pretty good athlete to play at this level. But I will say, if you don't have toughness as an offensive lineman, I don't think you're probably not going to be very successful. The likelihood of you being successful is not huge. So I think you definitely need a level of toughness for sure. Like at least pretty good toughness to be successful as an interior offensive lineman. And then athleticism, I think you can get by not being the greatest athlete as long as you have that technique, the toughness, the things around you are pretty good. But yeah, I think the athleticism is like what sets you apart, but you definitely need toughness. I have not watched those guys yet, Chris. I'll definitely get to it. And then Hunter Norzad, he's the Penn State center. Another guy that's a nice zone scheme fit, moves well on poles, so he can get some work in some power gap scheme type of stuff too. Plays some pretty good grip strength, takes good angles on reach blocks, so it's nice to watch him work on reach, get out there, cut people off, has good balance and feet overall, and pass protection pretty small, and then needs better body lean, like with his weight it gets too far over the top, and then he's not like a base blocker, like square you up and drive you straight down the field. That's not where his strength lies. He's definitely more of a kind of similar to the Dolphins center in that regard with like his play style with Brewer. I think Brewer's definitely the better run blocker, but yeah, kind of similar as players overall. But he's another early day 3, somewhere around 4, round 5 type of player. And then Tanner Bortolini, I think, from Wisconsin. He's played a lot of snaps, can play all the interior spots. I'm pretty sure he's played everywhere on the interior. Good athlete, nice on reach blocks. Another player I really would like, I think is a decent scheme fit for Miami. That's more of a day 3 guy as well. Lots of solid players across the board. I think you're going to find better interior guys on day 3 than you would find tackle guys on day 3. But the tackle class is higher at the top. So it's the tackle class a little more top heavy. Guards, centers, you can, I think, still find some solid starters potentially on day 3. But moves well in space, active feed and pass pro. Another guy that needs to play with better body lean, like distribution, can lose his balance and struggles to sustain at times. Pad level, just another technical issue, gets too far over the top. Just needs to be a little more patient overall, especially in pass protection. But yeah, it's just playing with good balance, bend, things like that. Good, better base. And then, yeah, those are all like the main guys that I want to talk about. There's some other Michigan O linemen like Trevor Keegan that are interesting, but he's kind of similar in the same thing as Zinter. They're all more gap and power scheme guys. Very technical. They're all like very technically sound, but not great athletes, which is like they're not bad players, but I just don't think they're the greatest for Miami. Scotty, why would we draft Latham? I don't think Latham's going to be there, so whether you want Latham or not, I really don't think he's going to be there. I think he's going to go pretty high. But he's a guy that can play tackle and guard. But I do think he's more of a tackle. Okay, so those are like all the interior guys I want to talk about. Anyone have like questions or anything about anything we can talk about? Like, and then, oh yeah, I mean, I've seen some bad mock drafts recently. Like, there was one mock draft, I forget who it was, but they had the Dolphins trading back, which I like. That part I like. They had the Dolphins trading back, but then they took Patrick Paul, like at round 30 or somewhere like that, which I was not a fan of. Then they took Jatavion Sanders at 55, which I don't think is a terrible pick, but I'm also not like huge on it or anything like that. So like to me, Patrick Paul would be a huge miss. And if you're gonna have a huge miss in the first, I need to be like a home run in the second. And to me, that's not Sanders. And then they took like Cameron Kinchins in the third, which is another one that's not terrible, but I'm not like all about it. I like other safeties more. Just that would be a terrible, terrible draft, at least for me. But I do think trading back becomes more and more likely in this draft the more I think about it. And then, yeah, they signed Tier Tart. Definitely a move that I don't think changes anything for the draft. I think they could still easily take defensive tackle. It doesn't make it maybe helps them not have to reach for one if they don't want to, which is always nice. Always giving you more versatility. You know, you bring them on a 1-year deal. Now there's multiple different directions that you can go, whether it's, tackle that can play guard. I saw that mock draft too and I felt Earl. Yeah, definitely. Oh my god, please. Please don't let that happen. Anything but Patrick Paul, man. Even in a trade back, I don't want it. I'm just not a Patrick Paul guy. No. There's so many good tackles in this class. If they end up with Patrick Paul, I'll be a little disappointed. JC Latham. I like Latham a lot. I just don't think he's going to be there. I think out of the offensive linemen you would want in that first would be like Fatanu, Fuanga, Latham, Barton, Mims. I could see going to the Dolphins as well if he went there, but I just think they're all going to be gone. Alt's going to go top 10. I think Fuanga goes around the top 10. I think Latham goes in that same range. And everything I've said, people keep saying Amarius Mims is going to go higher than you think. So, I think all those guys are gone. And and then Fashanu from Penn State also should probably go in around that same range. So. Yeah. Dolphins brought in some 30 visits. I saw one. I saw Rasheen Ali. I saw there might have been another one. I don't think I had watched him yet though, but I'm definitely going to check out his film. 30 visits are interesting. A lot of the guys the Dolphins have brought in, I have at least liked. So like those type of players. And I think, more so the 30 visits are guys they're going to see maybe on potentially day 3. Some of the guys they've like brought in like Christian Boyd, Eric All, very interesting prospects. That I think would be intriguing in Miami that are pretty good scheme fits and have some nice upside to them as well. Jarvis Brownlee. Rasheen Ali is one of my favorite fits for Miami if they wanted to go running back in this draft class, which I'm not against going running back. It's just not I don't think a priority, but it's definitely something to keep in mind. Let's see. Oh my god, I want big screen. Anyone got questions? Oh my god, am I dropping frames? Don't see Greer drafting a lot in the first round. I mean, I could definitely see it. I just think the O-line that Greer would draft are probably gonna be gone. That's why I was saying like I could definitely see him go O-line, especially if it's like a tackle that can play guard. But I just think all the guys that they're considering that are decent value at 21 will most likely be gone. Like the person that's probably gonna be on the board is like Tyler Guyton, and personally, I would not take him. So, would you take Thomas Jr. if he fell to 21? I think he. I'm a best player available guy, and if Brian Thomas Jr. is the best player available, I would take him. And I think if he's there at 21, he could potentially be the best player available because I kind of have him rated around that range. I know people would not be super happy with them taking a receiver, but sometimes that's kind of how it falls. I do think at this current point, the most likely pick that I would see happening is somewhere on the D line, like a Newton or a Murphy, and then maybe one of the edges that they like. I feel like the O line that they like will be gone. Just looking at the things, how things are falling right now, how kind of feeling it out. But I think Newton, Murphy, Latu. I think they like Chop Robinson. Personally, I wouldn't go Chop Robinson at 21. I think another thing they can do, I've talked about this multiple times, Darius Robinson and a potential trade back. I think Darius Robinson is like a late first round guy. Trade back. Darius Robinson can play some edge and interior, kind of kill two birds with one stone. But yeah. I can see Thomas at 21. Yeah, I can see that too. I think Thomas is a pretty good player, so I'm a big fan of Brian Thomas Jr. And he's probably the only he's not one of the top three guys. The top three guys will all be gone. And I think out of the next guys, I feel like the next guys are kind of like all late first rounder types or early seconds. Like I like Loudon McConkey as like a late first, early second. I like Xavier Legette as a late first, early second. The receiver class is really good. Like if they end up with a receiver on like at 55, I would be very happy because there's a lot of receivers. I bet there's going to be a lot of really good receivers at 55, so I think that will definitely be in play. I would love an edge. Yeah. I think Dallas Turner will be gone. Latu is probably just depends on medical, but he could be there too. And then Jared Verse will probably, I think, could be gone, could be there. I have Latu over Verse. I like Verse more than Chop though, but Chop has that guy's an unreal athlete. One of the best, like insane bend, explosiveness, plays a pretty good play strength too. It's just he does not have a pass rush plan out there at all. So like he needs a lot of work. And he doesn't have great like block recognition, block deconstruction, things like that. Later, Scotty. Peace. I mean, I'm excited for the draft. I'm ready for it to come. It's 2.5 weeks away now. God, I need the draft to come. I'm excited to like live stream the draft this year. At least like, I'm not gonna be like showing the draft because you can't do that. I'm gonna get copyrighted to hell. But I think Mims will probably go in the top 20-ish. From what I've seen, people are if Latu is there, we have to draft him, right? It depends on the medical. But if his medical clears, then yeah, I would say he's probably one of the top options at 21. And I would not be mad about it. I just think the only thing when it comes to edges is they're probably not going to be, once Chubb and Phillips come back, they're not going to see a ton of playing time, at least in year one. So that's like the only thing. But then, year two, you probably see them move on from Chubb, pay Phillips, have Phillips and Latu. And two very similar players, but also very good. But I would not be mad about Latu at all because I think Latu is a top 15 player in this class. And I think he's probably a top 10-ish player for me. And he's my number one edge currently. I have him over Turner, Verse, Chop, all those guys. But I'm ready for the draft to be here. Ready to watch it, talk about it live. See what people are thinking about it live in the moment. As there's always in the draft, there's always something crazy that goes on. Like, I mean, there's always the gas mask situation. Yeah, there's a chance for Latu being there for sure. I would say unlikely, but not like impossible at all. Because I like Latu. But he has the big medical thing, but that was years ago, so. And similar to like Phillips, and the Dolphins took Phillips at 18, and he had a big medical thing, but they end up sticking around with him. Wait, what's happening? I look at something. Okay. What is the lowest you would trade down in the first round? How high would you move up, and for who? I'm a huge trade down guy, so I would trade down because I do think like from 21 to 55, I don't think there's that huge of a difference of talent between pick 21 and 55, which are the Dolphins' 2 picks. That's why I'm all for trading down. I would probably still stick in the first round, so like I would trade down all the way to the bottom of the first, all the way to 32, or whatever it takes 2 to tango. So like whichever team wants to move up. I'd move back a few spots. I'd move back 5, 6, 7. Also, it depends what player they fall in love with. But to me, I think you're going to get a similar level talent or player that you would want at, say one of like, no one like super valuable falls to you at 21. They trade back. I would, end up trading back as many spots as possible. And then, yes, moving up, I was going to say the only person I would move up for is Bowers or potentially Troy Fautanu. But I wouldn't move up that much. I'm not a big trade up guy. I never have been. I think you just, let the board fall to you. You could still find good players at it on the time. But yeah, Bowers would be the one because I could see him potentially falling a little bit. And if he did, I think he's like the perfect fit in one of those like unicorns in the class. I have watched Jordan out of Louisville. I like both Louisville backs, actually. Like Garendo, I'm a big fan of Garendo. He's like a perfect scheme fit. I haven't watched Jordan in a while, and I watched him like way earlier in the process, so I don't have like my exact like notes on him, but I do remember watching him and enjoying him play. I'll definitely have to check him out again because I have seen those players. And I'm pretty sure Dolphins brought Garendo in for a 30 visit, didn't they? Isaac Garendo. It definitely tells me like they brought in Rasheen Ali and Isaac Garendo, and those are like the outside zone, good size to them. Not like crazy huge, but they have good size to them. And they're like the outside zone burst speed athletic backs in this draft class. Definitely tells you what they look for in a running back. JPC. Haynes, Barton are realistic. I mean, I think Barton is a realistic option at 21. And I think Haynes could be a realistic option at 55. Or in a potential like trade back, depending how far you go back. Because I do think Haynes could easily go in like the 30 area, which would not be a bad pick at all. He's a player I love watching Christian Haynes play. And then I did some, and like I already talked about all these interiors. I talked about the tackles last week. I do think some of those tackles can potentially play guard and real one. Meant to say JPJ. Yeah, that's what I figured. I was like JPC. I'm like, probably just JPJ. You think Achane takes over as RB1? I hope so. He better. And to me, it's like, even if, him or Mostert are considered the RB1, like they're both going to see their touches this year. Like you don't need to overfeed Achane, potentially, you don't want to get him hurt, and by giving him too many touches. But I do want to see like Achane get like 15 touches because that guy's an absolute stud. That's why I don't think you need anything crazy at the running back position. But I'm always down to add to it, especially later on in the draft. But I do think whether he's considered the starter or not, he's going to see his touches in multiple different ways because they're going to use him in a versatile way. Also, I could see the Dolphins adding his teammate from the past, Anaya Smith, who I might do a video on tomorrow from Texas A&M. He's like a gadget player, played receiver, played running back, slot type guy, also a very good returner. And I feel like the Dolphins, he just feels like a Dolphins style player. I could see them being interested in him, and he's like a day 3 guy too. So I could see him going to the Dolphins in like the 5th or something like that. He would be intriguing. Very good change of direction, explosive, make you miss type player. that can play multiple different spots. JPJ, I wonder what's happening with JPJ because I just keep seeing people thinking he's going to drop in the draft. I do like his film. I think he's quite good. I guess maybe the medical is dropping him, so we'll see how that ends up playing out. But yeah. Any late round QBs interest you? Any late round QBs? Let me see. I haven't really watched a ton of QBs yet, but let me go. I've definitely seen some. Like late round? No, not really. I'm like looking at the list right now. Don't like. Okay, I am from, or I live in Tennessee. I'm not from Tennessee, but I live in Tennessee. I worked last year. I worked last year for Sports Info Solution. Went to every UT home game for work, and had to see Joe Milton play. And I do not think Joe Milton should be on the Dolphins' radar at all. Not to be mean, but that's not the direction I go. Maybe Jordan Travis from Florida State off of injury. I think he would be an intriguing late round QB option. What do you think we draft late rounds? Late rounds, I feel like is where they can go in any direction. Because I feel like, when you think about it as like if you're thinking about it from a position standpoint, I feel like at the top of the draft, like I feel like there's like 4-5 positions they're probably going to go through in the first 2 rounds. But like once it gets to round 5, I could see them going in almost any direction other than probably like QB. Probably won't go QB unless it's super late. But I could see them potentially even going like a tight end, like Eric All in round 5, things like that. Anais Smith, definitely some sleepers. I could even still see them go safety. Is Mike White still on the roster? Yeah, he is. But yeah, there's definitely some intriguing late round guys, random receivers to think of, like Anthony Gold, Xavier Weaver. That would be interesting scheme fits, potentially super late. I feel like running back is always like running back and receiver are positions that I can see, you can always find talent at those positions later in drafts. There's always like 1 or 2 guys that end up working out. There's other like tackle, for example, I think is a position where most of the guys that end up being good at tackles are early round guys. So you kind of avoid taking tackles late. Yeah, probably running back, receiver. If they want to go there late. DBs, you can usually find some like tough, smart players that drop because of size there. That could be interesting. And I just like, I don't know if I see them going DB in the first 2 rounds, but I think DB is still something they will end up taking. I think the only DB I would take early is probably Cooper DeJean, because I think he would see massive playing time being like the 3rd safety, plus also could play nickel and or on the outside if they wanted to bump Ramsey or Fuller to the inside, depending on which team they're playing. If they wanted to go a DB in the first round, I think that would be the direction I go. But I would say that's unlikely, but not impossible. You never know, because Chris Greer loves to take a DB, especially when you're not expecting it. I think James Williams would be a perfect late round pick. I wouldn't be mad at that from Miami, because I watched his film and he's more of a, like, I think he's going to be like a dime linebacker type. I feel like he'd be a good special teams player. He's going to be a guy that's going to be like a good special teams guy. Definitely a big, strong safety, but not great in coverage. Going to be like a dime linebacker. Intriguing how he'd be used. You don't want the Jets drafting Bowers at 10. I mean, personally, I think Bowers is an absolute stud. So, I feel like, I don't want to see him on that roster, because realistically, if you look at every team, these teams that keep going to the Super Bowl, they all have the best tight ends in the NFL. I don't know if that's actually a good correlation, but I do really like watching Bowers. But I don't know. I don't know if Bowers will go in the top 10. I just don't know if it's going to happen. But he is a very, very talented player. But yeah, talked about the O linemen I wanted to. Really like Fatanu, really like Barton, really like Christian Haynes. Some of my favorite players to watch in this class. Mahogany, great versus Twists and Stunts. Another player I really like, late second. Like, I have Mahogany, McCormick, BB, and Dominic Pooney all in like that late second, early 3rd round range. So They are all probably going to be in play at 55. Do they end up taking one? Who knows? Yeah. I wanted Sam Laporta so bad last year in the second round. Unfortunately, the Lions got him. Lions had a pretty good draft. They took a lot of players I liked. They took some players too early though. They took Jack Campbell at like in the first round, which I thought was a little crazy, but they ended up getting Brian Branch later, who I thought was a first round pick, and they got him in the second. So, and they took Jahmyr Gibbs very early, but I like Jahmyr Gibbs as a player. They got a lot of guys I really liked, like all the guys I was pushing for the Dolphins to get. They ended up getting. They just took them so much earlier than I expected. Yeah, last year was Kincaid, Laporta, Chop Robinson. I'm not on the Chop Robinson train. Did that comment just disappear? Yeah, you have for the tight end thing. Yeah. That's why. I mean, if the Dolphins took Bowers, I'd be super, super happy. The Jets. I don't know what the Jets are gonna do, but the Jets have like crazy big holes they need to fill. I haven't looked at their roster. I know they definitely have some big name players, but I don't know how well rounded the whole roster. You happy with our linebackers? Yeah, I'm pretty good with the linebackers right now. I don't love the linebacker class, so I don't think the Dolphins need to go linebacker early. I'm not gonna be mad. I'd be down to take some maybe later round guys, but there's not a bunch of later round guys I like. Maybe Jordan McGee from Temple, but he seems like more of an early day 3 type. There's a UCLA linebacker like Darius Muesau or something. He's an intriguing late guy that's very smart player, but not a great athlete, which is why he's going to go pretty late in the draft. But yeah, I'm pretty happy with what the Dolphins did, getting Jordan Brooks. I think that's an upgrade. And then I think bringing in Anthony Walker allows you to have 3 pretty solid guys and having some solid depth. So yeah, I feel like the linebacker position is probably, it's not like an elite strength of the team, but it's probably the best it's been in a while. It's not one where I think they definitely need a draft at that position anymore. And yeah, since the Dolphins, like I think like tight end and linebacker were 2 positions I thought the Dolphins needed to address in the draft before free agency, but now like post free agency, I don't think it's as big of a need. You can tell like with like Johnny Smith was like the perfect scheme fit. Love that bringing him in. So now tight end doesn't need to be a priority. They could still take one in the draft, but that's why I like adding those positions in free agency because they're not overly expensive. They're not the premier positions, but yeah. New kickoff rule. If it means like, I think it could make it more exciting because I feel like the kickoff has kind of became like pretty much unimportant because most of them just become touchbacks. So I think it'd be pretty exciting. Should be fun. He probably will help the Dolphins because they have players on the roster that can be pretty good on returns. So it'd be I think add a little more fun to the game. Yeah, definitely don't have any problems with it. I guess I could talk a little bit like about maybe some safeties. I mean, I'm not gonna like break. I don't have like the notes on the safeties, but some guys I like are like Cole Bishop in the second, or JJ and Taylor Demerson, same area. If they went in that direction in the second, I could see them going safety. Like I don't think safety's a priority, but I don't think it's out of the water at least in the second round because there's no first round safeties. So I don't think. I mean, unless you're considering DeJean a safety, then he's a first round safety. But I do think the Dolphins are going to play a lot of 3 safety looks. Jordan Poyer on a 1-year deal. They're going to have to extend Holland soon. I don't think safety is off the table at pick 55. I think that becomes a possibility at 55. It's probably not the direction I would go. Like, first off, unless it's best player available, then I would go in that direction. But I do think it's in play with like other positions, whatever they don't go in the first round, and then like O-line, obviously D-line, edge, receiver, those will all be in play throughout the draft. But I think safety becomes a possibility in the second. And we'll see, because they have to extend Holland, they have to extend Phillips, and they have to extend Waddle. And if if there was one I would like the least, I would extend Waddle and Phillips before I extend Holland. Even though I think Javon Holland's a really good player and would love for him to stick around, I think Waddle and Phillips play more important positions, and I think they impress me a slight bit more on their rookie contracts. Yeah, I think that's unless people have questions, I think, talked about all the players I want to talk about. Randomly talking about the draft, just chilling. I might end it here in a sec, unless people, there's anything that you're going to talk about, ask me anything. I think we'll do the defensive lineman group next, interior D-line, then edge, and then I probably will do DBs as one, like corner and safety. Why so much Chop Robinson hate? Oh, I don't hate Chop Robinson. I just don't think he's a good value pick at 55. I definitely think the Dolphins will be interested. I think like he's a super athlete. Like his athleticism is insane. He's just super raw. Like when he really had like no pass rush plan, which hurt him a lot. I think he'd versus the run, when he was able to recognize what was going on versus the run, he did a pretty good job. But I feel like his recognition and block deconstruction wasn't great. But he does play with super high effort. I think his functional play strength overall is pretty good. But definitely I like guys that are a little more ready to go right now. I feel like he's a guy that if you take him in the first round, you need him to go right away because you need people that can play at edge for Phillips and Chubb right away. And then so you need him to be ready to go instantly, which I don't know if he would be. And then once Phillips and Chubb come back, then he has to sit, and then you're not going to get it out of them. I have a feeling Tyreek will be gone after this season. Yeah, I think it feels like it's coming. Maybe not this season, but the next, I don't know. That's why I think I would be totally fine with going receiver pretty early in this draft, because this draft class is so good. I love best player available, and I think, you got to extend Waddle, and I think potentially Tyreek could be gone pretty soon. Besides receiver, what position do you think the draft has the most depth at? Most depth. Can I say O-line as a whole? Because then I would say O-line as a whole. Because, like, the center class is really good. The guard class is really good from top to bottom. And then the tackle class has a lot of people at the top. Like, it's really top heavy, but there's a lot of them up there. So they have a lot of quality talent there, too. Like, the O-line all around is really good. Running back has some decent depth. Not very top heavy, but some decent depth, but I wouldn't say them. Interior D-line, pretty solid. Not tight end. I probably wouldn't say edge either. The corner, it might be the DBs, man. The corner class is really good. This class is pretty good. It's pretty stacked. Just looking at the names on the corners, even like once you get down the list, like there's a lot of guys to like there. Thoughts on Cooper DeJean at 21? Wouldn't be mad about it. I know people probably don't want DB, but if they went DB, I said it earlier, DeJean would be the DB I would go for, because I do think he could play. I think he'll see playing time right away, because I think he could be the third safety and be your third corner, whatever one you wanted. And Dolphins would, I think, use him in a variety of different ways. I think it'd be super interesting to see that. And I think potentially DeJean could be the best player on the board at 21. So I would say he's the DB that I would guess if they went defensive back, which I would say I'm not guessing they do. I still think they go either O-line, D-line, or edge on most likely. But I think they could still go receiver and DB, and DeJean would be the DB, I would guess. Yep. Would love to trade down. Would absolutely love it. I'm totally down to trade down. It just comes, it takes two to tango. I know people just talk about trading down, but sometimes you don't get that call, or if you do get that call, they totally undersell you, and it's just not even worth it to trade down just to barely get anything. Do you think Cam Smith can break out? Yeah, that's why, I still have a lot of confidence in Cam Smith. I still think he's a good player, has that film. He really just didn't get a chance to the coaching, coaching staff, specifically Fangio not liking him. So that's why, I still have faith in Cam Smith. That's why I'm not totally for taking a DB, like a corner in the first, or like especially DeJean, even though I just think DeJean could be a safety. I'm not totally all over that train because I do feel good about Cam Smith. Not sold on Fuller. Fuller's legit, man. Fuller is good. But he also is only going to be here for 2 years. So, and he's 29. And I don't expect Ramsey to be here forever either. So it's not like going corner would be that crazy. But I do think, feel very comfortable with Cam. Still, like unless he has another season like this one, then I would start to worry. But I'm not there yet. You think Nick Needham has a chance to start either slot/boundary or even the third safety? I would say Needham probably has a better chance at third safety than slot or boundary. I just like, with the injuries, I do still think Needham is a solid depth piece, but that's what I see him as right now, being like a special teams depth guy. That's kind of where I'm at right now with Needham. They just have too many bodies because I think, with Kendall Fuller and Ramsey, those are your top two guys. Then you have Cam Smith and Kohu that were probably fighting for that third corner spot. I think Needham is more likely to be like your backup nickel and then maybe like your third or fourth safety. Because they could still take a safety, and they still have like Elijah Campbell, who was ahead of, like that third safety last year with Brandon Jones was the third safety, but Campbell even did some work as the third safety last year. Yeah. Is Haynes a better prospect than Beebe? Yeah, I think so, personally. Especially for the Dolphins. I can see teams maybe valuing Cooper more, but I think Haynes is definitely a better scheme fit for Miami. Am I crazy for having Brian Thomas Jr. as my wide receiver 2 in this class? Maybe a little bit. No, I have Brian Thomas as my wide receiver 4, so it's not that crazy. It's just the top 3 are really good, man. Like, this is a really good class. Like, would I be surprised if Brian Thomas Jr., because Brian Thomas Jr. has a lot of upside. He does. He's quite good. So, but yeah, I would, after Marv, yeah. I think, I have Neighbors and Odunze over him, which I think is, but I don't mind it. It's not the craziest thing I've ever seen. Later, Duke. You're probably already out, but later. Okay. Yep. Probably gonna head out here in a second, unless anyone has any more questions they want to ask. I'm down to chill, but yeah. Oh, I went full. Okay, who's your pick at 21? Fatanu, Thomas Jr., Latu, Barton. For me, I would go Fatanu. But if all 4 were on the board, which that's not gonna happen. If there's no way all 4 would be on the board, teams would have to have no idea what they're doing to have all 4 of those guys to be on the board. But yeah, but I would choose Fatanu first. Then after that, like if Fatanu wasn't there, if you just put the other 3, then it would be a little tougher. I'd probably go. Oh, it's tough because I think Barton would plug and play right away. Latu would play right away, but then have to sit a little bit after that. I think Latu is probably the highest on my board, so I'd probably say Latu after Fatanu. And then Barton, Thomas Jr., it's a toss-up. Thomas Jr. plays a more premier position, but Barton would be just a stud, I feel like, for 7, 8, 10 years, something like that. Yep. The wide receiver class is very good. It's so like Troy Franklin at 55. I could see it, man. And Franklin would be a pretty good scheme fit. Franklin is one that I'm a little, like he has a little boomer bust to me, but he has some really good film too. He just has he has very clear strengths and very clear weaknesses to his game, but I do like watching Franklin play. I could see Sweat falling very, very far. It's like multiple red flags. It's not just the DWI, it's also the coming in overweight. And when you come in like that overweight stuff, he has the party issues in the past. Like I could see teams not wanting just because he's a nose tackle. He's like a 2-down player most likely, and he's not going to play significant snaps if he's at that weight. To me, I think he's a day 3 guy for sure now. Like I would not take him on round 2 or 3. I could see him going round 4, but with all those red flags, I think it ends up going even a little farther than that. Miracles happen every day. They do happen. I've seen crazy things happen on draft day. I just don't think you're like those. Like honestly, if all 4 of them were there, that'd be the biggest surprise of draft day. If one of them were there, I could see it. But after that, was Sweat consensus ideal number 3 in the class? I don't think consensus. I think a lot of people have him there early, but I think he's been dropping more and more. I think after testing, it might have been like, I knew it was Newton and Murphy, but I feel like after that, people had like, Braden Fisk from Florida State. They started moving people up around. A lot of people like Chris Jenkins. A lot of people like Rook from Clemson. I see a lot of, I'm a huge Brandon Dorless guy. I think he's a 2nd round guy. There's like Dwayne Carter, some other decent options there. But those are kind of like, I'd probably put Sweat in that same tier like as a player, but now he's definitely below all of those players. The draft is like picking your favorite candies. Kind of. It definitely, a lot of nuance that comes to it. It's not always just super simple. Sometimes you're thinking very short term. Sometimes you're thinking very long term. But the Sweat stuff is like, man, how do you? That stuff's like, stuff's crazy, man. Okay. This was fun. Had a stream down. Gonna stream probably Thursday doing the defensive line class. And then up to the draft, we'll probably get to the edge, probably the DBs, maybe some others, maybe do a mock draft stream, maybe, whatever it is. Should be fun. And then we'll do the draft itself. We'll just live stream the draft, reaction to it. Everyone watches it. And then, give our opinions. At least I'm going to stream the draft up to the Dolphins pick and then talk about the Dolphins pick. And then might do day 2 and day 3, depending on how day 1 goes. So if you guys, enjoyed, leave a like on the video or don't. It's up to you. You should stream some more. Yeah, I'm going to keep streaming some more for sure. I was doing it like, I started doing it 1 day a week, Monday only. Now I'm doing it like 2 days a week. And then once we get to the draft, I might stream all the draft and it's just going to be more and more and more and see how it all builds up. Keep making videos. I'll probably have a video up on a draft prospect every day as well. And once we even get closer to the draft, probably two every day, like at least within the week. Because I have a lot of players that I want to get to and I'm running out of room. And I just know the Dolphins are going to draft someone I didn't make a video on, but that's good for me because then I get to make a video after the fact. And I probably still will make one for because I love doing this stuff. Should Def do a mock draft stream? Yeah, I did one once, and I think it was like the first one I did. I think so. But I'm going to definitely do a mock draft, at least one before the draft. But yeah.